I'm dying to ask you about Jasmine Crockett.
Oh boy.
She seems like a nightmare.
She's delightful.
What's that like to work against her?
So she serves on over.
The exchange began not with hatred, but with ridicule. Critics made it clear that Jasmine Crockett wasn't feared or despised. She was laughed at. Her behavior, they argued, wasn't powerful. It was foolish. Time and again, they said, Crockett had turned herself into a spectacle. Instead of gaining respect, she became the punchline. One voice even cut in to explain that Crockett should learn the difference between being hated and being mocked, because what she was experiencing wasn't anger, it was amusement at her expense. The tension escalated quickly with interruptions, and even sharp jabs at her appearance until the chairman was forced to call for order. When journalist Megyn Kelly and Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene turned their focus toward Crockett, the result was less of a debate and more of a demolition. Crockett had earned a reputation for fiery sound bites and over-the-top theatrics, often mistaking volume for substance. But Kelly and Greene cut straight through that performance. They exposed how Crockett's persona was less about policy or leadership and more about media applause and partisan outrage. What unfolded wasn't simply criticism, it was a systematic takedown, peeling away the image Crockett had carefully built. To add fuel to the fire, political commentator Benny Johnson joined the conversation. He traveled to Crockett's hometown, in South Dallas, to examine her background. Crockett often tried to present herself as someone shaped by the toughest neighborhoods, speaking with a tone that suggested she carried the streets with her. But Johnson revealed a very different picture, one that didn't align with the narrative Crockett promoted. The reactions from her colleagues were just as pointed. One member described what it was like working alongside Crockett on committees. Late-night sessions often turned into long, frustrating hours. And instead of contributing constructively, Crockett, they said, leaned into theatrics, sparring with colleagues while offering little substance. Megyn Kelly's approach was surgical. She dissected Crockett's brand piece by piece, showing how the Congresswoman's rise wasn't based on ideas or accomplishments, but on viral clips of outrage. Kelly emphasized that being loud doesn't equal being visionary. She noted that Crockett's tantrums weren't tactics and her theatrics weren't leadership. What Crockett mistook for influence, Kelly argued, was nothing more than shallow applause. Marjorie Taylor Greene, on the other hand, bulldozed through the facade. Greene didn't dress up her criticism. She went straight for the blunt truth. She mocked Crockett's hypocrisy, pointing out how Crockett preached accountability but never applied it to her own side. Greene showed that Crockett's act collapses when she is held to the same standards she demands of others. When the two clashed in hearings, exchanges often erupted into chaos, with Crockett lashing out in ways that, to Greene, only reinforced her immaturity. Together, Kelly and Greene formed a devastating 1-2 punch. Kelly's sharp precision exposed the shallow branding, while Greene's raw force hammered it home. Crockett's reputation, once bolstered by media applause, began to unravel. She wasn't the fearless leader she tried to portray. Instead, she came across as hollow, a political influencer more concerned with going viral than with governing. The criticism didn't stop there. Crockett's comments about Texas Governor Greg Abbott, cruelly nicknaming him Governor Hot Wheels, sparked outrage. For Kelly, this was further proof that Crockett thrived in echo chambers, where applause overshadowed decency. Outside that bubble, though, her remarks looked less like boldness and more like reality TV antics. Even Crockett's own staff came under the spotlight. Reports suggested she alienated her team, with some describing her as a diva behind the scenes. Stories of her demanding treatment, like having pillows brought in during hearings, only reinforced the image of someone disconnected from the serious work of Congress. Kelly emphasized how Crockett used identity politics as a shield, framing every clash as an attack on who she was rather than what she stood for. But Kelly didn't play by those rules. She stripped away the theatrics and demanded substance. Substance Crockett couldn't deliver. Greene doubled down, showing that Crockett's outrage was selective. She went silent when her own allies were guilty of corruption, saving her. Fire only for Republicans. That silence, Greene pointed out, revealed Crockett as more of a partisan performer than a true leader. The demolition was powerful because it wasn't just about Crockett as an individual. Kelly and Greene positioned her as the embodiment of everything broken in modern politics. She represented the triumph of performance over progress, hashtags over hard work, and spectacle over real solutions. Kelly described Crockett as a product of a culture that rewards noise instead of nuance. Greene painted her as the poster child of a Congress that has traded governance for applause lines and viral clips. Crockett wasn't dismantling systems of injustice, they argued. She was feeding them, fueling a cycle of shallow outrage that left little room for meaningful change. Crockett's attempts to embrace internet culture backfired. One clip, where she appeared in a cringeworthy video before a major address to Congress, left audiences more embarrassed than inspired. At 42 years old, critics said, she was less a bold leader and more someone desperately chasing relevance. The time Kelly and Greene were finished, Crockett's image had shifted dramatically. No longer the fiery fighter her allies celebrated, she looked more like a political influencer playing to cameras rather than leading for constituents. Her speeches didn't pass laws, her theatrics didn't deliver results, and her combative style didn't inspire genuine leadership. The brilliance of the takedown lay in how it forced audiences to see through the performance. Without media applause, without echo chambers, and without viral clips, Crockett was revealed as a shallow act, a caricature of modern politics. Kelly and Greene didn't just challenge her. They stripped away the scaffolding propping her up and exposed the emptiness behind the image. In the end, Crockett wasn't a political powerhouse. She was the living symbol of everything broken in Washington's culture of performance politics.